The transport shuttle. Peaceful dawn glided through the cosmic void toward the massive Zephyrian mothership that dominated the starfield like a metallic moon. Ambassador Kim Hwan pressed his palm against the cool viewport, watching the alien vessel grow larger with each passing second. Its surface crawled with strange geometric patterns that hurt to look at directly. "First time seeing one up close?" Commander Park Sora asked from the pilot's seat, her fingers dancing across holographic controls with practiced ease. Kim Hwan nodded slowly. "The photographs don't do it justice. It's like looking at a living nightmare made of metal and malice." Park's lips quirked into a small smile. "Wait until you meet the Empress. Makes the ship look friendly by comparison." The shuttle passed through multiple scanning beams that left Kim Hwan's skin tingling. Each checkpoint revealed new layers of the Zephyrian ship's defenses. Weapon turrets the size of buildings tracked their movement. Energy shields flickered, like aurora in the darkness. This was a civilization that had conquered half the galaxy through pure technological superiority, or so they wanted everyone to believe. The docking bay stretched before them like a cathedral made of black crystal. Towering Zephyrian guards stood at attention, their insectoid features hidden beneath ceremonial masks that glowed with internal light. Each warrior stood nearly 3 meters tall, their forearms ending in claws that could shred steel. Kim Hwan straightened his diplomatic uniform and checked the small translator device pinned to his collar. To any watching eyes, it was standard Earth technology. In reality, the device contained quantum processors more advanced than anything the Zephyrians had ever seen. "Remember the briefing?" Park whispered as they walked down the shuttle's ramp. "Act impressed but not intimidated, humble but not weak." The crystalline floor beneath their feet seemed to pulse with its own heartbeat. Bioluminescent veins ran through the walls like alien circulatory systems, casting shifting shadows that played tricks on human eyes. The air tasted of copper and ozone, thick with the scent of a species that breathed different gases than humans. Their escort, a junior Zephyrian diplomat named Keithax, clicked his mandibles in what Kim Hwan had learned was amusement. "Your species adapts quickly to our environment. Most newcomers require breathing apparatus. Humans are remarkably adaptable," Kim Hwan replied carefully. "We've learned to survive in many difficult conditions, more than they knew. Much more." The throne room opened before them like the heart of a dying star. The ceilings stretched impossibly, high disappearing into shadows that seemed to move with their own purpose. Pillars of living crystal grew from the floor, each one containing swirling galaxies of light that might have been stars or might have been screaming souls. Empress Valdris materialized from darkness that defied physics. One moment empty space, the next a towering figure of alien majesty and barely contained violence. Her forearms spread wide in the gesture Kim Hwan recognized as territorial dominance. Her silver skin rippled with patterns of bioluminescence. That spoke of irritation, contempt, and something darker. "So," her voice cut through the air like breaking glass, transmitted through neural interfaces that made human skulls ache. The little mammals from the Sol system finally crawl before their betters. Kim Hwan executed a perfect diplomatic bow, exactly 70 degrees as protocol demanded. "Your Imperial Majesty, Earth extends greetings and hopes for peaceful coexistence between our peoples." The Empress's laugh made the crystal pillars ring, like funeral bells. "Peace, you dare speak of peace when you possess nothing of value. Your primitive world with its single yellow star. Your handful of crude vessels that barely qualify as spacecraft." She gestured dismissively with 2 arms, while the other 2 remained poised like striking serpents. "I offer you protection under the Zephyrian Empire. Submit your species to our guidance, and we shall ensure your survival." Commander Park's jaw tightened so slightly that only another human would notice. Her hand didn't move toward her sidearm, but every muscle in her body coiled like a spring. She had seen the casualty reports from species that refused Zephyrian protection. Entire worlds reduced to glowing cinders, billions dead in the span of hours. Kim Hwan maintained his diplomatic mask perfectly. "Such generosity requires careful consideration, Your Majesty. The decision to join such a magnificent empire affects our entire species. Might we have time to consult with our government? Valdris's bioluminescent patterns shifted to deeper shades of red. Anger, impatience, the desire to crush something, small and annoying. 3 solar cycles, she declared. Then you will kneel or you will perish like the Kentari before you. The audience chamber fell silent, except for the whisper of recycled atmosphere and the distant hum of the mothership's engines. Kim Hwan bowed again. Your Majesty's patience honors us. Hours later, in their assigned quarters deep within the ship's guest section, Kim Hwan activated what appeared to be a simple translation aid. The device hummed softly, establishing a quantum-encrypted channel that bypassed every surveillance system the Zephyrians possessed. Status report, Ambassador, Li Jun's voice crackled through from Earth. 50 light-years distant but connected by technology the galaxy's rulers couldn't imagine. Kim Hwan switched to Korean, knowing the Zephyrians had never bothered learning human languages. The spider has shown her fangs. 3 days to kneel or burn. Operation Long Sleep moves to Phase 2. On the other end of the transmission, General Choi Min-ho smiled grimly in his command bunker hidden beneath Seoul's rebuilt districts. Around him, holographic displays showed the true scope of humanity's preparations. For 30 years, they had played the role of naive newcomers, while secretly building the largest military force the galaxy had ever seen. Understood, Ambassador. The pieces are in position. Let the Empress think she holds all the cards. Kim. Hwan looked out through the quantum glass of his quarters at the stars beyond. Somewhere out there, 3,000 human warships waited in perfect silence. The Zephyrians saw primitive mammals begging for scraps. They had no idea they were staring into the eyes of apex predators who had spent decades learning exactly how to bring down prey much larger than themselves. The hunt was about to begin. The war room aboard the Zephyrian flagship Eternal Dominion buzzed with the electric anticipation of victory. Massive holographic displays showed the tactical situation in 3 dimensions, casting blue light across the faces of alien officers who had never known defeat. At the center of it all, the burning wreckage of Mining Station Echo 7 rotated slowly, debris spreading like metallic snow across the void. Fleet Commander Therex stood at attention before Empress Valdris, his 4 arms folded in the traditional position of respectful reporting. The battle scars across his carapace told stories of a dozen conquered worlds. Your Majesty, the human outpost has been eliminated as ordered. Total destruction achieved in 17 minutes. Valdris leaned forward in her command throne, her silver skin pulsing with satisfied bioluminescence. Excellent. And their pathetic resistance? Minimal, as expected. Therex paused, his mandibles clicking thoughtfully. Though I must report, their defensive fire was surprisingly coordinated. 4 simple miners. They managed to damage 2 of our cruisers before the station fell. The Empress waved a dismissive arm, her attention already shifting to the next phase of her demonstration. Desperation makes even the smallest rodents fight fiercely when cornered. It changes nothing. How long until the human ambassador arrives? He is being escorted here now, Your Majesty. Minutes crawled by like hours as the Zephyrian court assembled. Noble houses that had carved up entire star systems stood in their ceremonial positions, eager to witness the moment another species bent the knee. The massive doors of the war room hissed open with mechanical precision. Ambassador Kim Hwan entered, flanked by towering guards, his black diplomatic uniform somehow managing to look both formal and defiant. But something had changed in his demeanor. The careful politeness that had marked their previous meetings had been replaced by something harder, more dangerous. Commander Park Sora followed 2 steps behind, her hand resting casually near her sidearm. The gesture looked relaxed, but every Zephyrian warrior in the room recognized the posture of a predator ready to strike. Your time has expired, human, Valdris announced, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. She gestured toward the holographic display where Echo 7's wreckage still glowed with residual heat. Your mining station burned beautifully. Submit now or watch your pathetic species join the cosmic dust. Kim Hwan studied the display for a long moment, his face a mask of controlled grief. But beneath the surface, something else flickered in his eyes. something that made the nearest Zephyrian guards unconsciously step back. "Echo 7, he said quietly. 347 good people worked that station. Engineers, technicians, security personnel. His voice carried across the silent war room like a funeral hymn. They had families back on Earth, children who will never see their parents again. Valdris's bioluminescent patterns shifted to deeper satisfaction. The price of defiance is always paid in blood, little mammal. Submit, and no more need die. For the first time in months of careful negotiations, Kim Hwan's diplomatic facade cracked like breaking ice. His shoulders straightened, and when he looked up at the Empress, his eyes had hardened to chips of frozen steel. Your Majesty made a grave error. The war room fell silent except for the hum of advanced technology and the whisper of recycled atmosphere. Valdris's 4 hands clenched into fists as her anger patterns flared across her skin. Error? Her laugh was like the screech of tearing metal. I possess 10,000 warships, each one capable of reducing your primitive world to molten slag. Your own intelligence estimates place your entire fleet at perhaps 50 vessels. What error could I possibly have made? Kim Hwan straightened to his full height, and something in his posture made hardened Zephyrian warriors shift nervously. The change was subtle but unmistakable, like watching a house cat reveal itself as a hunting tiger. The error, Your Majesty, was assuming we wanted this war. His voice carried a new weight, the authority of someone who had just stopped pretending to be harmless. We tried very hard to avoid it. We offered you peace, trade, mutual cooperation. We bent over backward to find a solution that would satisfy your empire's needs without bloodshed. Commander Park's hand moved closer to her weapon, her eyes scanning the room with professional assessment. The Zephyrian guards outnumbered them 50 to 1, but her expression showed no fear, only cold calculation. Are you threatening me, little mammal? Valdris rose from her throne, her massive form casting shadows across the assembled court. No, Your Majesty. Kim Hwan's voice carried the weight of inevitability, like distant thunder promising a storm. I'm delivering humanity's formal declaration of war. You wanted conflict instead of cooperation. You chose violence over diplomacy. Now you'll learn why we tried so desperately to give you peace instead. The ambassador reached into his diplomatic pouch and withdrew a small data crystal that seemed to pulse with its own inner light. This contains humanity's official response to your ultimatum. I suggest you read it carefully. As he placed the crystal on the nearest console, alarms began blaring throughout the massive warship. Emergency lights bathed the war room in pulsing, red as automated systems detected something that shouldn't have been possible. Fleet Commander Therex rushed to his tactical station, his claws dancing across holographic controls. Your Majesty, we're detecting massive energy signatures throughout the system, multiple contacts appearing on long-range sensors. Impossible, Valdris snarled. Our scouts confirmed this system was empty except for our fleet. The signatures? They're everywhere, Your Majesty. Hundreds of contacts, no, thousands. Kim Hwan smiled for the first time since entering the war room, but it was not a pleasant expression. You see, Your Majesty, Mining Station Echo 7 wasn't just a mining station. It was an observation post. For the past 3 days, while you've been positioning your fleet for what you assumed would be an easy victory, our people have been watching, learning, recording. The data crystal activated, flooding the war room's displays with tactical information that made the assembled Zephyrian officers gasp in disbelief. Fleet positions, weapon configurations, shield frequencies, communication, protocols, everything the Zephyrian Empire considered classified military secrets. Your miners transmitted detailed scans of your entire fleet formation before their station fell. Kim Hwan continued, his voice carrying across the stunned silence. Every ship, every weapon, every weakness. They died to give us the intelligence we needed to end this war before it truly begins. Empress Valdris stared at the displays showing her fleet's complete tactical breakdown, her bioluminescent patterns flickering between rage and something that might have been fear. You planned this. The mining station was bait. We hoped you would choose wisdom over arrogance, Kim Hwan replied. But yes, we prepared for the alternative. Humans learned long ago that if you want peace, You must prepare for war. Commander Park spoke for the first time since entering the war room, her voice carrying the casual confidence of someone who had just revealed a winning hand. The question, now Your Majesty, is whether you're prepared for the war you've chosen to start. Outside the massive warship, space itself seemed to come alive as humanity's hidden fleet began to reveal itself. The hunt was no longer coming. It had already begun. Admiral Yoon Dae's weathered hands gripped the command rail of the HNS Silent Thunder as she watched the tactical display that would reshape galactic history. The bridge around her hummed. With barely contained energy, 40 years of careful preparation finally reaching its climax. Every surface that had appeared to be simple metal paneling now revealed hidden control systems, advanced computers, and weapon interfaces that made Zephyrian technology look like children's toys. The massive view screen showed what any casual observer would dismiss as an unremarkable asteroid field, just another collection of space rocks drifting through the void. But Yoon Dae knew better. She had helped design every fake mining station, every disguised weapons platform, every hidden shipyard that turned this empty system into humanity's most deadly secret. "Ma'am," Captain Han Yuki called from the tactical station, her voice steady. Despite the magnitude of what they were about to unleash, all ghost fleets across 17 systems are reporting ready status. Operation Sunrise is authorized and waiting for your command. Yoon Dae nodded slowly, her eyes never leaving the display. 40 years ago, she had been a young lieutenant, when humanity first detected alien signals from deep space. While politicians debated first contact protocols, military planners like her had asked a different question. What if these aliens weren't friendly? "Admiral," Lieutenant Omin announced from the communications console. "Priority signal from Earth Command. General Choi sends his personal regards and authorizes full revelation of all assets." The moment had arrived. No more hiding. No more pretending to be helpless primitives begging for scraps from galactic civilization. Time to show the universe what humans really were when their survival was threatened. "Then let's show them what humanity really looks like," Yoon Dae said, her voice carrying across the bridge with quiet authority. "All stations activate stealth field termination. Drop concealment simultaneously across the entire network. Let every sensor in the galaxy see what we've built." Han Yuki's fingers flew across her console. Stealth fields dropping in 3, 2, 1, mark. The transformation was breathtaking and terrifying in equal measure. The asteroid field that had fooled Zephyrian scouts for decades suddenly blazed with the light of 1,000 suns. Massive structures that had been invisible moments before revealed themselves in all their deadly glory. Mining stations the size of small moons opened like mechanical flowers, exposing shipyards capable of building dreadnoughts. Ore processors that had operated for years without suspicion unfolded into weapon platforms that could crack planets. "My God," whispered Ensign Park Ji from the sensor station. "Even I didn't know we had this much firepower hidden here." Through the view screen, they watched as the HNS Thunder's wake emerged from what had appeared to be a large asteroid. The massive dreadnought's hull gleamed with adaptive armor that shifted and flowed like living metal. Weapon ports opened along its kilometer-long hull, revealing plasma cannons that could vaporize entire fleets. "Signal from the wake," Omin reported. "Captain Lee says, and I quote, 'About damn time we stopped playing hide-and-seek.'" Yoon Dae allowed herself a small smile. "Tell Captain Lee that the children are done playing games. It's time for the adults to take over." The revelation wasn't limited to their system. Across 17 star systems that Zephyrian intelligence had classified as primitive human colonies, the same transformation was occurring. On the edge of the Wolf 359 system, what appeared to be a small trading post suddenly expanded into a fortress complex bristling with enough firepower to destroy entire battle fleets. In the Kepler system, gas giant mining rigs that had operated openly for decades revealed their true nature as mobile fleet bases. Entire squadrons of advanced warships emerged from the swirling clouds of the planet's atmosphere, their hulls scarred by years of hiding in the corrosive gases. Colonel Nam Su stood in his command center, deep beneath the surface of New Seoul, watching through dozens of monitors as his carefully constructed deception finally ended. The planet's surface looked peaceful enough. Farms, cities, the normal activity of a thriving human colony. But beneath the ground, carved into the planet's bedrock, lay one of humanity's most sophisticated military installations. All defense. Platforms are online and ready, reported Major Kim Soo from the tactical station. We have full sensor coverage of the entire system. If a Zephyrian scout ship enters our space, we'll know about it before they do. Nam Soo nodded, his eyes fixed on a particular monitor, showing the orbital space around New Sol. To any observer, it appeared empty except for a few communication satellites and weather monitoring stations. In reality, thousands of automated defense platforms waited in perfect camouflage, their weapons locked onto pre-calculated firing positions. 40 years, Nam Soo murmured, remembering the young soldier he had been when this all began. 40 years of watching, learning, preparing. Every alien species that made contact with us taught us something new. The Andromedans showed us adaptive armor technology. The Centauri taught us about quantum communications. The Vorthan refugees shared their knowledge of plasma weapons. "And the Zephyrians?" asked Major Kim. Nam Soo's expression hardened. "The Zephyrians taught us that the galaxy is full of predators who see kindness as weakness. They showed us exactly why we needed to be ready for this moment." Back aboard the Silent Thunder, Admiral Yoon Dae watched as her tactical display updated with reports from across human space. Every hidden fleet was revealing itself. Every disguised weapons platform was coming online. Every fake colony was dropping its peaceful mask to show the fortress beneath. "Admiral," Han Yuki called out, her voice filled with something approaching awe. "Final count is coming in. We have 3,417 capital ships reporting ready for combat. Support vessels and automated platforms bring our total military assets to over 50,000 individual units." The bridge fell silent as the magnitude of humanity's deception sank in. For 4 decades, they had convinced the galaxy that Earth was a primitive world with perhaps 50 crewed spacecraft. In reality, they had built the largest military force in galactic history. "Ma'am," Omin announced, "we're receiving transmission requests from every major power in the galaxy. The Andromedans, the Centauri Federation, the Croton Empire, everyone wants to know what's happening." Hyundai straightened her uniform and walked to the center of the bridge. "Open channels to all galactic powers. It's time they learned the truth about humanity." As communication links activated across the galaxy, she reflected on the words that had guided their long preparation. Humans were persistence hunters, patient predators who could track their prey across continents and decades. The Zephyrians had made the mistake of thinking they were the apex predators of this galaxy. They were about to learn otherwise. "Time to remind the galaxy," Nam Soo's voice echoed from the surface of New Sol, "that humans are persistence hunters. And we've been hunting the Zephyrians for 40 years. The hunt was over. Now came the reckoning. The communication screen aboard the Zephyrian flagship Eternal Dominion flickered to life, just as Empress Valdris prepared to address her massive armada. 10,000 warships stretched behind her in perfect formation, their hulls gleaming with the promise of another easy conquest. But instead of speaking to her fleet commanders, she found herself staring at a human face that shouldn't have been possible to reach across interstellar distances. Admiral Yoon Dae appeared on the screen with crystal clarity, her weathered features, showing none of the fear or desperation Valdris expected from a doomed species. Behind her, the bridge of what looked like an impossibly advanced starship hummed with activity. Human officers worked at control stations that incorporated technology the Empress didn't recognize. "Greetings, Empress Valdris," Yoon Dae said, her voice carrying across space with perfect clarity. "I am Admiral Yoon Dae of the Human Defense Fleet. You seem surprised by our capabilities." Valdris's 4 hands clenched into fists as bioluminescent rage patterns flared across her silver skin. "Impossible. This transmission shouldn't be possible. Our intelligence reports show your species possesses 50 ships at most." The human admiral's smile was neither friendly nor afraid. It was the expression of someone who had just revealed a winning hand after letting opponents think they held all the cards. "Your intelligence was meant to see exactly that, Your Majesty. We've spent 4 decades making sure your scouts saw only what we wanted them to see. Behind Valdris, Fleet Commander Therex worked frantically at his tactical station, trying to trace the impossible transmission. My Empress, this signal is coming from 17 different star systems simultaneously. The technology required for such coordination shouldn't exist. Oh, but it does, Yunde continued, gesturing to something off-screen. We've prepared a gift for you. Complete tactical scans of human-controlled space. Consider it professional courtesy between military professionals. The data packet that arrived made every Zephyrian officer in the war room gasp in collective disbelief. Holographic displays throughout the flagship lit up with impossible information. System after system revealed hidden fleets that had been invisible to their scouts. What they had catalogued as primitive mining operations were exposed as massive shipyards. Simple colonies transformed before their eyes into fortress worlds, bristling with weapons that could crack moons. This cannot be real, Valdris whispered, staring at readouts that defied everything she knew about galactic civilization. The numbers: 3,000 frontline warships, 3,417 to be precise, Yunde corrected, each one incorporating technology reverse-engineered from dozens of alien species we've encountered over the decades, plus 70,000 automated defense platforms, mobile fortress stations and support vessels. Fleet Commander Therex's voice cracked as he struggled to process the intelligence reports flooding his systems. My Empress, our long-range scouts are confirming these readings. The humans have been studying us, studying everyone. Some of these ship designs incorporate Croton adaptive shielding, Vorthan plasma weapons, Nexari quantum drives, even Andromedran stealth technology. Valdris felt something she hadn't experienced in 8 centuries of conquest: genuine fear. The tactical displays showed human ships emerging from hiding places throughout the galaxy. Asteroid fields revealed themselves as camouflaged shipyards. Gas giant mining operations unfolded into mobile fleet bases. Entire systems that had appeared to be peaceful colonies transformed into military strongholds. How? She demanded, her voice barely above a whisper. How did you hide all of this from our intelligence network? Yunde leaned forward, and for the first time, Valdris saw the predator that lurked behind humanity's diplomatic mask. Your Majesty, we learned something important when we first detected alien signals from deep space. We learned to listen before we spoke, to watch before we acted, to prepare for the worst while hoping for the best. The human admiral gestured, and new tactical displays appeared, showing Zephyrian fleet movements from the past decade. Every patrol route, every ship deployment, every strategic decision had been monitored and recorded. You see, Your Majesty, humanity has a saying: speak softly and carry a big stick. For 40 years we tried the speaking softly part. On her tactical screens, Valdris watched human vessels demonstrating capabilities that shouldn't have been possible. Ships that could phase through solid matter, weapons that bent space itself, defensive systems that turned enemy fire back on its source. This wasn't just hidden military strength. It was evolutionary advancement disguised as primitive weakness. Every species you conquered taught us something new, Yunde continued, her voice carrying the weight of decades of careful preparation. The Kentari showed us quantum tunneling before you exterminated them. The Valoran refugees shared their knowledge of dimensional folding before their homeworld burned. Every genocide you committed gave us teachers who desperately wanted to see the Zephyrian Empire fall. Commander Park Sora appeared beside the Admiral, her uniform bearing rank insignia that marked her as a fleet captain rather than a simple escort. The mining station you destroyed. Those weren't miners, Your Majesty. They were intelligence operatives who died to give us complete tactical analysis of your fleet. Valdris stared at the impossible readouts covering her screens. Entire star systems that had been marked as uninhabited showed massive industrial complexes. Human ships that outmassed her dreadnoughts emerged from hiding places that had fooled her scouts for decades. Weapons platforms that could destroy entire fleets powered up across 17 systems. This is impossible, she repeated, but her voice lacked conviction. The evidence blazed across every screen in her war room. Humanity hadn't just been hiding ships. They had been hiding their true nature as the galaxy's most patient and deadly predators. "We offered you peace, Your Majesty," Yunde said quietly, and for a moment her expression showed genuine sadness. "We tried every diplomatic avenue. We offered trade, cultural exchange, mutual cooperation. We bent over backward to find a solution that would satisfy your empire's needs without bloodshed." The human admiral's expression hardened back to military steel. "You chose war instead. But understand this, when humans prepare for war, we prepare thoroughly. We don't just build weapons. We study our enemies until we know them better than they know themselves." As if summoned by her words, the tactical displays showed Zephyrian fleet formations being analyzed in real time. Every weakness, every blind spot, every tactical doctrine had been catalogued and counted. Valdris realized with growing horror that her supposedly invincible armada was flying into a trap 40 years in the making. The Empress, who had conquered half the galaxy, found herself staring into the face of a species that had just revealed itself as the apex predator of the cosmos. The tactical displays surrounding Empress Valdris told a story that her mind refused to accept. 800 years of absolute rule, 800 years of unquestioned supremacy, crumbled in the span of minutes as human fleets materialized across 17 star systems like ghosts becoming reality. Her 4 hands trembled as she stared at the impossible numbers. The Zephyrian Empire had conquered civilizations that spanned thousands of worlds. They had crushed species with technology that dwarfed most galactic powers, yet here were primitives from a single yellow star system, revealing military capabilities that made her empire look like children playing with toys. "No!" The scream that tore from her throat echoed through the flagship's bridge like breaking crystal. "This cannot be. We are the apex species. We are supreme. We have ruled this galaxy for millennia." The revelation shattered something fundamental in Valdris's mind. Every certainty she had built her empire upon lay in ruins. The careful hierarchy that placed Zephyrians at the top of galactic civilization had been exposed as a lie. These humans, these mammals she had dismissed as barely sentient, had been watching her empire with the patience of apex predators, studying their prey. Her officers exchanged worried glances as their Empress began pacing frantically across the bridge. Her bioluminescent patterns flickered erratically between rage, fear, and something approaching madness. The silver skin that had always displayed perfect control now pulsed with chaotic light that hurt to look at directly. "Your Majesty," Fleety, Commander Therex ventured carefully, his voice barely above a whisper. "Perhaps we should reconsider our approach. These humans have clearly been planning this for decades. Maybe we should withdraw and reassess." "Silence!" Valdris whirled on him with such fury that he stepped back involuntarily. "I will not be deceived by clever mammals. I will not be made a fool by creatures who should be kneeling before me." She turned to face the massive tactical display, showing her 10,000 warships advancing through space. Her empire's pride, her undefeated armada, the force that had crushed every enemy for 8 centuries. "All ships, attack!" she screamed, her voice carrying through the communication systems to every vessel in her fleet. "Every vessel, every squadron, burn their hidden worlds, show them the true meaning of Zephyrian power. I want every human." System reduced to glowing cinders. What followed was the largest fleet movement in Zephyrian history, but it was also the most disastrous. Valdris threw away centuries of careful tactical doctrine in her rage. Ships that had always operated in perfect formation lunged forward in a disorganized mass. Squadrons abandoned their coordinated attack patterns in favor of overwhelming assault. The human response was devastating in its precision. Admiral Yunde watched the approaching swarm from the bridge of the Silent Thunder, her expression mixing sadness with grim determination. "They could have chosen peace," she murmured to her bridge crew. 40 years of careful diplomacy, and it comes to this anyway." Captain Han Yuki looked up from her tactical station, her fingers dancing across controls that had been hidden for decades. "All fleet groups across 17 systems report ready, Admiral. Operation Hammerfall is authorized and awaiting your command." "Execute," Yunde ordered quietly. What followed became known throughout galactic history as the Battle of Shattered Crowns. The Zephyrian fleet, magnificent in its size and fury, crashed against human defenses like a tidal wave hitting a mountain. But mountains don't move. and the humans had spent 40 years carving their positions from solid rock. Human ships that had appeared primitive revealed adaptive armor that shifted and flowed like living metal. Zephyrian plasma weapons that had never failed to penetrate enemy shields splashed harmlessly against defensive systems that seemed to absorb and redirect energy rather than simply blocking it. The humans' own weapons defied everything the Zephyrians thought they knew about galactic warfare. Quantum torpedoes that phased through shields to strike hull directly, plasma cannons that fired coherent streams of stellar fire, gravitational weapons that twisted space itself into crushing fists. But it wasn't just superior technology that destroyed the Zephyrian fleet. It was the tactical precision of a species that had spent 4 decades studying every aspect of their enemy. Every Zephyrian maneuver had been anticipated. Every weakness had been catalogued and exploited. Every strength had been countered with devastating efficiency. Empress Valdris watched from her flagship's bridge as her empire burned in the void of space. Ship after ship fell to human weapons that seemed to target exactly the right systems at exactly the right moment. Her perfect formations dissolved into chaos as vessels that had never known defeat exploded in brilliant flowers of plasma and metal. "How?" she whispered, staring at the tactical displays that showed her fleet being systematically destroyed. "How did they learn all our weaknesses?" The answer came from an unexpected source. Ambassador Kim Hwan's face appeared on her communication screen one final time, transmitted from the bridge of a human dreadnought that was methodically tearing apart her escort vessels. "We tried to tell you, Your Majesty," his voice carried, the weight of genuine regret. "We offered you peace. We tried very hard to avoid this moment. But you chose war against a species that has spent millions of years perfecting the art of survival." Behind him, the bridge of his ship showed the coordinated efficiency of a military force that had prepared for this battle for decades. Officers worked with calm precision, their movements speaking of countless hours of training and preparation. "You see, Your Majesty, every species you conquered became our teachers. Every refugee who escaped your empire shared their knowledge with us. Every world you destroyed gave us motivation to build something better. We didn't just study your technology, we studied you." As if to emphasize his words, the Eternal Dominion shuddered as human weapons found their mark. Hull breaches appeared across multiple decks. Emergency lights bathed the bridge in pulsing red as automated systems struggled to contain the damage. "Now you understand why we tried so desperately to spare you this lesson," Kim Hwan continued, his image flickering as the ship's systems failed. "We knew this day would come eventually. We just hoped it would be later rather than sooner." The last thing Empress Valdris saw was the flash of human weapons as they punched through her flagship's final defenses. The bridge exploded in a shower of sparks and superheated metal, ending 8 centuries of Zephyrian dominance in a single moment of brilliant light. Across the galaxy, other species watched in stunned silence as humanity's hidden fleets secured the battlefield. The Zephyrian Empire, which had seemed invincible just hours before, was reduced to scattered survivors fleeing into deep space. Admiral Yoonday's final transmission reached every corner of known space, carried by quantum communication networks that spanned the galaxy. To all civilized species, her voice carried the authority of someone who had just reshaped galactic history. "Humanity seeks peace with all peoples who choose cooperation over conquest. We trust this demonstration of our capabilities will ensure such peace is mutually beneficial." The message was clear to every species that received it. The galaxy had a new apex predator, but unlike the Zephyrians, these humans preferred diplomacy to domination. They had proven they could destroy empires, but they chose to build alliances instead. The age of Zephyrian tyranny was over. The age of human guidance had begun. The end.